Hi, welcome back. This is part 2 of our 5-part series of videos to teach you how to teach your child how to comfortably write really wonderful paragraphs. This video is all about topic sentences. If you have not already printed off the PDFs that go with this video, please do. You need them. Go ahead and pause the video and print them off. You are also going to need printer paper, plain paper. You're going to, and you can get different colors if you want, or white also works. You're going to need a variety of colored pencils and scissors, and we're going to get creative. So I am excited to get started with this. The very first thing that we're going to start with, please do pause and grab everything you need. But the very first thing that we're going to start with is going to be the first 2 pages in the PDF range that you printed off. I included these just to give you a quick overview. These 1 page is from the middle school version of Step Up to Writing, and the second one is from the high school version of Step Up to Writing. They're published, one was published much later than the other one. It's essentially saying the same thing, but I thought might as well include it, maybe give you some helpful information here. And I just want to point out a couple of things on both of these papers, and then we'll move forward to actually getting into the meat of this. All right, so I know I discussed this on the last video, but this is so important. I want to bring this up again. The very first thing I want to identify with you is that topic sentences, the job is to state the subject, let the reader know what is going to be proved or explained. It never does this. It never says, I am going to tell you. Or this paper will be about. Or in this paper. Yes, of course, people do write like this, but let's try to avoid it if we can. And let's try to get our children to not do this. We want to stretch them, okay? So this, we're not going to do this. So go ahead and write this on your paper, please. We want to try to avoid this, avoid it, avoid it. What we want to focus on is what is going to come after this. That's the important piece that we want to know, the reader wants to know, and then how do we put it into a really interesting format where we can avoid all of this stuff. And that's what this video is all about. So here are some good examples. This is Maureen Aumann speaking to the reader. That would be you in this case. In this section, you will learn several methods for creating a topic sentence. My intention is not to suggest that these are the only methods or even the best methods for writing a topic sentence. My hope instead is that these strategies will provide the direct instruction that most of us need when we learn this skill. The examples should give you guidance as you write a topic sentence. This is so important for you as your child's teacher to understand. These are not the end-all be-all methods for writing topic sentences, but they're phenomenal methods for writing topic sentences. And you know what else is really cool? Once you teach these methods to your child, you are going to notice a dramatic increase in their comfort level with putting their thoughts into complex and compound sentence structures, because once they learn these, they're just tools in their tool belt, and they're not only going to use these strategies to write topic sentences, they're going to use these strategies to develop their thoughts in their writing. So really cool stuff. Okay, and you know, I agree with this too. I believe that when you learn and master 1 or 2 methods, you will begin reading more critically, and that you will recognize the topic sentence in everything you read. This way, you will have an endless list of strategies for writing topic sentences. Imitate the ones you like and leave the others for someone else. This is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be teaching our child many of her strategies, and we're going to be teaching them how to imitate them, because this is where we really learn. We're using some good modeling and some good scaffolding here. All right, these methods can also be used to write a thesis statement for an essay, a report, or a research paper. And oh yes, they are wonderful methods for these. Okay, the next page. Again, this is just the same information, the beginning page from 2 different versions of her curriculum. This is just some additional information to go ahead and read through and decide what of this you would like to share with your child, and then some good additional examples. All right, so over the years, I've used Maureen Aumann's 14 different strategies for writing creative topic sentences. So I've used it over and over with students. I've taught it so many different ways. And what I've landed on as like my favorite is the most creative way, where you can get your child cutting and using colored pencils and taking information and recreating it in another way that makes it their own, but using the definitions, the examples that Maureen Aumann provides, and then also having them make up their own. So I'm going to guide you through that for several of her different ones. Now, in the first video, I explained that I'm pulling information from 3 different levels, from the 3rd through 5th, the middle school, and the high school. So they're very similar, very similar. And in fact, I was looking to see which examples I wanted to pull from each to provide to you. And they're so very similar across the board that I felt like just pulling from the 3rd through 5th was sufficient for the most part. And then I included at the very end, if you flip ahead and look at the last 3 pages of your PDFs that you printed off, I included from her handy guide all 14 of the ones that are provided for the high school level. And I did that because those are really great examples to use with middle schoolers and high schoolers. And so, you know, this series of videos can be used, again, with all ages between 3rd grade all the way through 12th grade. And I'm just trying to give you as many resources as I can. But what I'm going to show you will be as effective with a 3rd grader as it will be with a 12th grader. So this is some good stuff. All right, the first thing I want to do, I want us to jump ahead. We're going to come right back, but just jump ahead to page 5 in your PDF, and we're going to be looking at the power number topic sentences. What I want to show you, I just went through my files. Sometimes I save things over the years, and I went through my files and I pulled out 3 different ways that I've taught this with different students, and I just want to show you how you can take one thing and present it in multiple ways. So here you have the power number topic sentences page from Step Up to Writing. This is great. Most students are not going to read through this and then put it into play. They're just not going to. This is for you as your child's teacher to learn, to look at some examples, and then to teach it to your child in a way that they're going to be able to connect with it and own it and have it be theirs, and one of their ideas that is just going to be with them forever. And also in a way that they will be excited to go back and reference later when they're like, oh, what were these different types of topic sentences that we learned? I definitely want to go back and review those. If they have done something creative with color especially, they're going to be looking at these examples and they're going to remember immediately. They're going to remember the lesson, and they're going to be able to put that type of topic sentence into play. So here, hopefully you've had a minute just to kind of read through and overview this power number topic sentences lesson for the teacher. And then now I'm going to show you, here's one way that I taught this to a child. Now this is using a full sheet of paper. So in this case, each type of topic sentence got its own piece of paper. Sometimes it was double-sided, sometimes just single-sided. So here's where I would use some note-taking strategies. The other cool thing when you're teaching your child this is that you are also teaching them strategies to take notes with other classes and from other teachers, and they're going to be more comfortable with that, using color and using shading and using shapes. And underlining and bolding things. So here we took the list of words and added more, put those out a box. I always like to put a heading. I'd say, okay, this is topic sentences, period. So we always want to identify that's topic sentences, and then a colon, and then which one are we doing? So these names of these topic sentences, these are fun names that Maureen Aumann came up with. These are not like the end-all be-all ways to title these types of sentences. These are ones she came up with to help her students remember them, learn them, and remember them. Okay, so then I would put some examples, and as we're doing the example, so the child is also writing this, by the way. So I might, let's say if I'm working with a 3rd grader or a 4th grader, I might actually have this typed up and have them cut it out and glue stick it onto their notes. Or I might have this already written out for them and then they add the color as we're talking through it. So there's ways to get around if you have a child who's a reluctant writer or who does not have strong fine motor skills and writing is something that they really struggle with. You conquer that by providing the support on your end and letting them add those details. And that will keep them engaged. So here you can see that I use the color purple. And then, so purple, we put the different number words in here, and then we highlight in our sentences the purple words that make these a power statement or number statement. We will never, this falls right in line with what I said at the very beginning of the video, you never want to start your sentence out by saying something like, there are, or these are, or here are. We don't want these. We don't want to use these. So we want to make it really clear to our child that we don't want to start with that. Now here's another way that I pulled in teaching power number statements. This is something like we're going to be doing. So cutting a strip of paper and making it so that you have a bunch of the same exact size of strips of paper, and then you fold it over. And then what you're going to end up doing is glue sticking or taping the back to a sheet of paper, and then you have multiple on one piece of paper that they put in their binder and they can pull out and reference. So we're covering tactile, we're covering, okay, so when I said tactile, what I really meant is kinesthetic, so where we're actually doing. So we're covering visual, where a child can see what they're learning. We're covering auditory, where they're hearing us talk through this with them. We're covering the reading and the writing aspect of learning styles, where they're reading through this as we're creating it and they're writing. And we're covering the kinesthetic, where they're actually doing this with us. So the chances of this locking in stronger for our child it's going to happen. This is just an incredibly effective way to teach something, and especially when you've got so many of one thing that you're trying to teach, if you can break it down and use little like shapes like arrows and asterisks and cutting paper and boxes and all these things to help them remember. So this is just another way to take notes on the power number statement, and not just notes for notes taking sake, but notes that they're going to want to look back to as a guide when they're writing their topic sentences. So here you can see I used blue as my color for this set of notes. So using a number word to identify that there will be multiple things written about. And then I put an arrow here to help the child remember that they want to open it up, because here are the number words we put on the inside here. And then we always have a lot of examples. And again, we underline with that same color the different examples. So the idea here is that we are showing them that we can take this information that might be written in a way that they're not going to connect well with, and we can write it in a way that they will connect very well with. Here's another way with another student. Okay, so again, power number statement. This time I used green. I put an example right off the bat, and then some of their number words here, power words. Again, same thing, little strip of paper. A lot of examples. Do you see how there's like clear white space in between each one? And then some important things to keep in mind. The number word is the focus of the sentence. The number word lets the reader know that a list of information will follow. Never ever do this. There are, here are, these are, I will tell you. And then again, this is left blank because this is going to get taped or glue sticked to a sheet of paper with multiple ones on there. And so where did all this good stuff come from? It came from right here. We just together with a student, I would go through and I would pick this off, or I would have this pre-made, knowing my student or students and what would resonate well with them. I would either go through and we'd pick out the important information together and pick out examples together, or I would have it pre-made and then I would be making it with them again at the same time right next to them. So they're making it and I'm making it at the same time. Okay. It's also really nice if you're going to if you're going to do this with the strips of paper, which I recommend no matter their age. If you have some heavier paper, if you have cardstock paper or something that's just a little bit heavier than plain paper, or even plain paper that's colored, that's really nice to do as well. So I like to keep just a stash of different textures of paper in my homeschooling room so that I can just grab as ideas come to me. You don't have to run to the store and buy this. You definitely do not, but if you happen to have some, that would be really cool. I'm going to be using green for mine. So the next thing you want to do is take some of your plain notebook paper, or not notebook, excuse me, your plain printer paper. Now, we're going to want to have this folded. We're going to want to try to get 4 in each one. It's not going to fit on this other piece of paper, this colored paper, if we don't trim it up. So we know we want to have we want to trim like a good chunk off the bottom and a good chunk off the side. So let's do that first. All right. So I have several sheets of paper here with me, so I can just do it quickly. I'm just going to take about this much off the bottom of several sheets. And then I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to take about this much off the side. Okay. Now I want this to, let's see here, fold over this way. Okay. So now I'm going to just cut it right down the middle lengthwise here, so that I'm giving myself several sheets that are exactly the same. The key here is that they're all the same, or for the most part. You've got a whole stack of them now that are going to be the same. And so then you and your child have ones that are exactly the same. So let me show you what this will end up looking like on your colored paper. Okay, so we've got our colored paper, or just our plain sheet if you don't have colored paper, and you're going to take and fold in half like this 4 of your sheets. And your child is going to do the same. This helps get them engaged in what they're going to be creating. Kids love to be creative. They all love it, no matter what age they are. Okay, so here we have these 4. You're not going to stick any of them down until you're done with them. Here's why. If you tape them on here and your child is trying to write, their hand is going to get in the way of all of this. If you glue stick this down here, not only is their hand going to get in the way and mess up these papers, but glue stick takes a long time to dry. So then they have soft, wet paper that they're trying to write over, and their pencil lead is going to tear into it and it's going to ruin it. They're going to get frustrated. So you want to have this pre-cut and pre-made like this, and then set everything aside. This is to show, this is to show your child what you're going to be creating, keeping in mind that this back side is going to get glue sticked or taped down to here when you're done. So nothing gets attached until it's done. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside now, and we're going to just start with our first one here. All right, let's start with our very first one, which is the compare or contrast topic sentence. And let's pick a color. I'm going to go ahead and pick orange. So let's see here. I remembered I wanted to show you something. So if this is, I found this at Fred Meyer in the bathroom section, and I like it because it's 3 distinctive sections that are all connected together. You can see through it, and it's the perfect size to hold pencils. So it's like, you know, it's to hold toothbrushes and things like that in the bathroom, but it's perfect for colored pencils. And you can quickly see, you can quickly flip through it, find the colors you need. You can shove a ton of colored pencils in here, and you don't have to continually sharpen them because you probably have what you need in here sharpened. And it's also, kids like to have this too. It helps them with their creative process. For the compare and contrast, we are going to actually use 2 colors. Sometimes we need to have 2 if we want to make something really super obvious. So in this case, I'd like you to grab a yellow and an orange. This is what we're going to be creating. Okay, so let's do this really quick. And this is, I'm modeling for you, again, I'm modeling for you what you are going to do with your child. So I made this first. I have this sitting next to me so that I have a guide of what I want this to look like. If you want to have your child help you make it, that works too. So the first thing we're going to write is the title of this. This is the compare or contrast topic sentences. You could write topic sentences and then compare or contrast, or you could write compare or contrast topic sentences. Whether you identify topic sentence first or second, try to stay consistent with that throughout every single one that you take notes on. So I'm going to go ahead and just start with the compare or contrast, and I'm going to write it kind of large because I want this to jump out. And one thing that I also tell students is that whatever I am doing, you need to do too, and you need to do exactly the same. So if I'm using this size of handwriting, you use this size of handwriting. And that's one reason too why I sit there and I create it with them. And we want them to use good handwriting if they're writing. If they're not writing, then you're writing it for them and they're adding color. So this is the compare or contrast, and we're doing topic sentences. And then you can do a wavy line or a straight line. Okay, now I don't know if you have used a Venn diagram with your child or not. If you haven't, these are really great ways to brainstorm the differences and the similarities between two items. So this is pretty cool, and you can even add a third if you wanted to go crazy, if you were talking about the differences and the similarities between three items. We've done that before, and it can really pull in some fun ideas for writing. So this is neat. So this would be great. Like, let's say you did your child watched a movie, or they read a book and then they watched the movie of it. They could be, as they're watching the movie, they could be jotting down the things that are unique and similar on a big, huge Venn diagram. I've done that before. You could do this between, you could compare and contrast characters in a novel. You can compare and contrast different methods for learning multiplication, different methods for learning division. You can compare and contrast friends. You can, I mean, there's so many different things you can do. You can pull this into like anything, really. Okay, so now we're gonna, I'm sorry, I say okay a lot. I didn't realize until I started listening to my videos. I'm like, whoa, I say okay way too many times. But I do, and that's just me. So we're going to go ahead and draw a Venn diagram just to help our child remember that Venn diagrams are awesome ways to help us compare and contrast. Find the similarities and the differences between things. Okay, and over here we're going to just write the general overview. So we're going to write, use this type of topic sentence. When I want to explain how my topics are alike or different. Okay, now our main color that we're using is orange. So I'm going to go over the Venn diagram in orange, and you're going to have your child do that also. And I might even want to go over my compare and contrast in orange, but the color is really helpful. I want to go underline alike or different. I could go over the words in the orange as well. And then what I want to do is I want to pull, and this is one of the nice things about these PDFs that you're able to print off, is that you've got all of the information for you, right? You don't have to make this up. It's there. You're just putting it in a format that helps your child connect with it as you're teaching it to them. So these words are exactly the words. I just pulled them directly off of her paper. So we're going to copy these words, and you have them in front of you, and we're going to just make 2 columns, and we're not writing them tiny because we don't want our child to have to squint to see them. So we're writing the 2 columns of the words, and then we're going to put the orange box. I like to do the boxes. I have the children write the words in our notes first, then we put the boxes around, and then they're not squished. Okay, and now I pick up the orange. Boop. And then you can also teach them that they can do like a bolded box. So that would be making that second line around that if they want to do that. And they can just leave that as like a border like that, or they can fill it in. They can get creative with it. But we want to make this something that, you know, is visually appealing to them to go back to and look at. Now we're going to open it up, and on the inside, because there's not a lot of space on the front, so we can't always fit all of the important information into the front, right? But there's plenty of space on the inside. We don't need to fill this with examples. We need several examples, but if we need to add more information to remind our child about what to do here, then this is where we want to do that. And so that's what's going to happen here. There's two more things that needed to be said. First, we introduce the subject, then we make it clear whether it will be a compare or a contrast before we do any examples. And this is where I'm pulling that yellow in to this part, this introducing the subject part. So we're going to write that, and I'm going to do a bullet point because there's two things that I want to, bullet points help. Again, this is just note-taking strategy ways. They just help things stick out as not only unique, but also connected to each other. So there's two bullet points, so we know that these two are connected to each other. They go together. So you're going to write first, introduce the subject, and then white space. White space is important. Then make it clear whether it will be a compare or a contrast. Okay, now we're going to pick up our color, and the first thing we have to do is introduce the subject. I want that to really stick out, so I'm going to actually go over that subject a lot in yellow, and then make it clear whether it will be a compare or a contrast. So I'm going to either underline or squiggle underline something to make this pop out. Now I'm going to draw my arrow just to show that that is what I'm doing here. So I'm going to have three examples. These examples are coming exactly from here. What I like to do when I'm working with students is I like to give them an example, maybe two examples we pull off of the, pull from the curriculum, and then I ask them to make up an example. Maybe I'll make up one too, and then we each write down my example and we each write down their example. Sometimes it's really helpful if we use an example from something like their topic sentence is something related to a recent unit we've done, whether it's in math, science, language arts, social studies, PE, something that we've recently done, or something related to our family, something that they're engaged in, and teach them how that could potentially be a piece of writing. We just wrote a topic sentence for a potential piece of writing of something that they already know about. So we're going to write these three examples down, and I want to point out to you that here we would underline in yellow, and just move this out of the way, underline in yellow what relates to this. First, introduce the subject. Here we are introducing the subject. Then make it clear whether it will be a compare or contrast. And how do we make it clear? By using one of these helpful words. That makes it clear. And so here we've got three examples. And then this is now done. Of course, you're going to have your child, you and your child will each come up with one that you'll put on here in color code. And then you will either tape or glue stick this to your paper, and we've got a finished draft. Okay, now I'm going to, just in the interest of time, I'm going to show you some that I have done. All right, so this next one is a prepositional topic sentences. This is one where if your child does not already have a comfort level with prepositions, you're going to want to teach this. How do we teach prepositions? Well, first of all, we want to show them a list of prepositions, and we can say to them, what do all of these words have in common? Or for the most part, what do they have in common? And they might say, well, they all tell me where something is, like a direction. And that's where you want to say yes. If they can't come up with that, then you can say, do you notice that most of these are like direction words? Like something is above something else, or something is across from something else. And they might say, oh yeah, that's true. And then you might say, okay, take that and connect that with the actual meaning of a preposition, which is that they're words that show the relationship of one word to another word. And sometimes that relationship is directional or location words. So I like to, when I teach prepositions, I like to teach it with like a prepositional poem. So I'm just going to flip this over, and like I might say, okay, it's going to be a poem with 5 lines, and each line is going to be a prepositional phrase, and a prepositional phrase starts with a preposition. So if we have these location words, and I might just look out the window or look at the table that we're sitting at, and I might say, in front of the girl, outside the window, below the tree, underneath the snow, lies a buried ball. Okay, so prepositional phrase poems are fun to do to teach prepositions, because as long as we can start each of these, the first 4 lines or first 3 lines, whichever you'd like to do, with a preposition, and it's just a prepositional phrase, and then the last one is like, it's like a riddle. The last one is whatever we're talking about. And so then they get this. And so if you play around with this and have some fun with prepositional phrases and what prepositions are, then you come back to this, and this is going to make more sense. So it's just a quick lesson to pull in. And then you say, okay, look at this is certainly not an exhaustive list of prepositions, but it's a good list of prepositions. You can go into your curriculum, most likely, and your grammar curriculum, you're going to have a section of prepositions. You'll probably have a section of prepositional phrases that you can pull in with this. You can Google prepositions and prepositional phrases. Just remember that a prepositional phrase is simply a phrase that starts with a preposition. It begins with that. It doesn't begin with any other word. It begins with the preposition. All right. Now, the reason that that's important is that prepositions, a prepositional phrase is what is going to begin the prepositional topic sentence. So if you look at these examples, you can see what I'm talking about. We've got in the deepest part of the ocean. That's a prepositional phrase. During the 1800s, before the automobile was invented, inside your nose, at the equator, along the beach. So every one of these starts with a prepositional phrase, which is why doing a prepositional poem lesson would be really fun and creative and help them get that. All right, so now the next thing that I want to tell you is that whenever I'm teaching one of these topic sentences and I have a lot of words, I never ask the child to copy all these words down. Okay, I have done that, depending on if they're like in high school, but usually not. Usually I will take pity and I will copy out a page, or we'll type it up and then cut it out. So that's what I did here. I literally just cut this out. And so I'd like to ask you to do the same. Take a minute and cut that out of here, and then glue stick or tape it on here, and then just put a blue border around it. We're going to use blue for our prepositional topic sentences. So then on the inside, the first part, here's where we're going to add some more of the important information. So first of all, and again, we're just pulling this right from the paper, from the curriculum, begins with a prepositional phrase. And then let's pull in 3 examples from the curriculum. In the park, over the mountain, around the corner. And I put a box around the preposition and underlined the whole phrase. The prepositional phrase, again, put a box around the preposition and underline the whole thing for the prepositional phrase. This introduces the reason for writing. And then the rest of the sentence shares the position, which is what I am writing about. And then now we're going to have some examples. All right. In the deepest part of the ocean live many strange looking creatures. So in would be our preposition, and in the deepest part of the ocean is the prepositional phrase, which is introducing the reason for writing, and then the rest of the sentence sharing the position, which is what the person is writing about. Live many strange looking creatures. So the other thing I like to do when I come up with the examples is I'll say, okay, what would be in a paragraph that had this as the topic sentence? And then we have fun with that, coming up with the names of all the strange looking creatures that we both know about. Those would be the things that would be in this paragraph. Okay, the next example. During the 1800s, thousands of American Indians were forced off their land. So we want to put a box around the preposition during, and then underline the prepositional phrase during the 1800s. So again, and then again, we go back to this is introducing the reason for writing, and that this is the position that is going to be written about. Thousands of American Indians were forced off their land. So what will this paragraph be about? And we talk about what could potentially be in this paragraph if this was the topic sentence. And then another example, and again, these examples are coming right from the curriculum. Along the beach, so along is our preposition, along the beach, many hidden treasures lie buried in the sand. What could be in this paragraph? It might even be fun to stop and have your child, brainstorm some ideas that could be in a paragraph that had that as the topic sentence, and then have them write a paragraph using that as the topic sentence. All right, so far we've made 2, and you can see how this is going to be a really nice finished product when you're all done. One question you might be having is, how many of these should I be doing in one lesson? I wouldn't do more than 2. Honestly, I would do 2 and I would call it good. And if you wanted to have your writing be a little bit lengthier that day, then I would ask them, or maybe even the second day. Actually, this is most likely what I would do, is I would teach 2. And then the second day I would ask them to do a brainstorm and an outline. And I'd ask them to pick one of the topic sentences that we did together and brainstorm the paragraph that would go along with that. And it could be any topic they want, but it has to fit with the topic sentence. And then just have that outline like sitting in their writing section of their binder. They don't have to do anything with it unless you want then that to be assigned for the next day. Pick one of your outlines and turn it into a paragraph. That would be it would be a sequential thing to do 3 days in a row. So day 1, you would teach 2 different types of topic sentences. Day 2, they would pick a topic sentence from each one and do a brainstorm on what could be in that paragraph for that topic sentence and make the outline and for it. And then day 3, they would pick one of them and write the paragraph. Okay. All right, the next thing I'm going to do with the power number one, I'm just going to show you 2 different ways. Hopefully, I'm going to zoom in so you guys can hopefully see this pretty clear, and have you just copy, maybe pause the video and copy down whichever one you like the best. Okay, hopefully you've paused the videos and decided which one you like the best. Now I'm going to open both of them up so that you can copy down the inside. Flip this over. Inside of the one that you liked the best. These are just example sentences. And these are just the power number words. I'd also like to take a minute for us to review this next page in your PDF. This is page 6. And this is a really cool page from the Step Up to Writing curriculum, which gives you ideas of ways that you can pull in power number statement examples for learning logs. Really, a learning log would be it's something that you would use like a learning journal, or if you're having your child keep track of different things at the end of the day, things that they learned. You can pull this in so many different ways, but she pulled in some really great examples from 4 different subjects. And if you want to take a minute and read through these, That would be fantastic, and then we're going to move on. The and, but, or, and so topic sentence is our next one. This one is a fun one to do because we get to pull in a lesson about compound sentences that pulls in multiple things that we can discuss with our child. So first of all, what I'd like us to do is go ahead, and I'm going to take you through this lesson, and I want you to know that everything I'm going to be telling you, or most of what I'll be telling you, is already on here. So let's go ahead and start with our first, the front of our next paper. Get this really clear for you. Okay, so this is going to be our and, but, or, and so topic sentences. What I actually, you know what? I should be doing this at the same time as you to make this a little bit easier to explain. So I'm going to do that at the same time. So we're going to write and, but, or, and so. So I made them kind of big, and I know it's weird. We wouldn't normally capitalize these letters, right? But we're doing it just because it's the title of the type of topic sentence. And then we're going to put topic sentences here. All right. When I teach children about compound sentences, I teach them that there are a couple of different ways to write them. The most common way to write them, and the one that they're used to using, is the one that uses one of these special helper words. And when they're little, we can just call them special helper words. We can also refer to them as their name, which is coordinating conjunction. I would say probably 5th grade and up, they need to be using coordinating conjunction. 3rd graders and 4th graders, we can just call them special helper words for now. We call this boy fans. So if we teach them boy fans, so underneath here, we're going to just go ahead and write that. We're going to write these letters big, okay, like that. And then space out over here. See how I left the space on either side? Boy fans, this is a little trick to help us remember coordinating conjunctions. So then we would say this fun thing to our child, and we would say, what do you think each one of these letters stands for? And they'd look at you like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So you would say, well, B stands for but. Do you have any guesses as to what O would stand for? And they might say, no. What, maybe and or A stands for and you'd say, yep, it sure does. That's but, that's and. Any guesses about S? Maybe so, yep. These are the ones that they're probably going to know. And so then you'll tell them the rest. O stands for or, Y stands for yet. Notice how I'm writing the rest of the words smaller. F stands for, N stands for nor. They're going to think N stands for no, and you say no. No is like, we would use no as the opposite of yes. But this is a word that's going to combine two complete thoughts together. So the word no won't do that, but the word nor will do that. So we're going to do that. Then we're going to put a box around our special helper words, our coordinating conjunctions. And we're going to go over the boy fan letters in red and bold. And then we're going to go over this box. All right, so this is our special helper word. We're going to actually write that. Special helper word. And then for our older students, we're going to write in parentheses what this is. This is our coordinating conjunction. All right, so a compound sentence, like I said, this isn't the only way to write a compound sentence, but this is one of the ways to write one, and this is the one we're using here. It's going to look like this. So we have what we're going to call, and this is, if you haven't taught clauses to your child yet, don't stress out, because there's a way to help them understand this without having learned about dependent and independent clauses. But this is also a good time maybe to pull that in if you haven't yet. So a compound sentence starts with an independent clause, which is one complete thought. It's its own sentence. Okay, so we're going to draw an arrow down below that, and we're going to write complete sentence. really small. And then we have a comma. And then we have a special helper word, which is a conjunction. And don't forget to identify that we have a comma. That's important. If we don't have a comma, then we have a run-on sentence. If we don't have a conjunction, but we do have a comma, then we could have a comma splice. So those are two problems that we could have. We have to have both of those together. Then it finishes with another complete sentence. Now I like to color code when I teach children about clauses. So these types of topic sentences through Step Up to Writing, one thing that I love about this is that she pulls in compound sentences and she pulls in complex sentences. So it gives the teacher, the parent, the opportunity to teach these types of sentences in a very meaningful way that the child is going to grasp at the same time that they're trying to put their own ideas into it. So they own it in a little bit of a better way. I love that about this. So I like to use blue. I've just stuck with blue all these years when when identifying for a child, or a child is identifying for me, where they have an independent clause and a dependent clause. And so we want to go over the blue, and I use green for dependent clauses. So independent means stands alone. It's its own independent thought, complete sentence. We've got one, and then we have a comma. Go over that real heavy in red, make that really obvious and big. And then go over your squiggle with your red. That's our special helper word. Let's go over this arrow. Okay, one of these words comes here. And then we finish with another complete thought, also known as an independent clause. So the and, but, or, and so topic sentences, this is a compound sentence where we have a complete thought separate and another complete thought, and they're separated by a comma and a coordinating conjunction, a boy fan word. We could call it a boy fan word. Sometimes kids remember it that way. Okay, now we're going to open this up. And we're going to write, this is a compound sentence. And a compound sentence has two independent clauses. So we're going to write here just what an independent clause is. An independent clause, and then we'll underline this in blue, stands alone as one complete thought. And then let's go ahead and frame this out real quick. So we've got an independent clause, a comma, a special helper word, another independent clause. And color code them. Then we're going to go ahead and draw our arrows down and say comma, special helper word, boy fans word. And then now we're going to do some examples. So first go ahead and copy the two examples down. Make sure you leave white space, copy them down just like this, and then we're going to color code them together. So pause the video and copy these down. Hopefully it's nice and clear. I'm going to see if I can clarify it a little bit. All right, now that you've got this copied down, this is where, so you wait until your child has it copied down. Then you color code it together. You say, okay, if we're looking at this frame, this compound sentence frame tells us that if we start with an independent clause or a complete sentence, a complete thought, and this right here is that, most reptiles lay eggs, that's a complete thought. We're going to underline that in blue. Then we have a comma and a special helper word, but. We're going to go over that in red. So most reptiles lay eggs, comma, but a few reptiles give birth to live young. So it starts with an independent thought, an independent clause, and it ends with one. Now, one way for a child to identify whether they're dealing with a compound sentence or not, because a lot of times they can get confused when these conjunctions are used, but they're used to list or to discern between differences between things, and they're not being used to to make a compound sentence, one trick that I've used with students is to say, hey, just go ahead and read your first part, see if that's a complete thought, and they'll say yes. And I'll say, okay, now ignore the comma and the coordinating conjunction completely, or ignore the coordinating conjunction, whatever it is you see there. Read what, like totally ignore it. Read what comes after. Is that a complete thought? And if they say yes, it is, well, then you have to have a comma and a coordinating conjunction there if that's the case. If you're missing one of them, you're going to have an error in your sentence. If this is not a complete thought, then we don't have a compound sentence. And we shouldn't have a comma and a coordinating conjunction. We wouldn't have a comma, we would just have the coordinating conjunction. Okay, now let's do the next one. Some plants need very little water. That's a complete thought, independent clause. Comma, so they grow well in dry areas. They grow well in dry areas is also an independent clause, a complete thought. So we're going to go over our comma and our so, our coordinating conjunction, our special helper word there. And then have your child and you together come up with another example sentence. So I'm trying to be aware of the time that you're investing in watching these videos and learning this. And I think it's pretty amazing if you've hung in with me this far. Thank you. I appreciate that you're doing that. It's an investment in your child, as you know. And I appreciate that you're honoring the time that I'm taking to teach you this, to stick with me this long. So thank you. I really do appreciate that. At this point, you have a paper with you've done, or you're ready to teach your child 4 different types of topic sentences. This is fantastic. This is good. If you don't go any farther than this, if you just stop at 4, you've done great. You now can move to the next step of the paragraphs. If you want to continue watching, I'm going to show you just a couple more. I'm not going to go in order necessarily, again, because I guess I didn't expect that this was going to end up being such a lengthy video, but I want to just show you some examples of ways to do one of the next ones. It is the where, page number 9, if you could pull page number 9 out, and then also page number 10. So the where or when plus what's happening topic sentence, I just want to show you an idea of framing that out on the paper real quick. All right, so for this one, again, you're pulling your information from the Step Up to Writing curriculum, but this is just a way to frame this out on this little piece of paper. So of course, put your title up here. This is an older one that I did, but to break this down, maybe like do a dotted line, and this would be one example, where or when, inside the stomach, and what's happening, chemicals break down food. So this is all one sentence. This is not being very clear. There we go. And here's another one, under our patio roof. That's the where or when. Some birds have built their nests. Many years ago, Irish immigrants settled in New York. So if you do this visually with them, obviously when they're writing their sentence, they won't draw the dotted line through it, but this helps them visually break down what type of topic sentence we're doing here. And then inside, when you do your additional notes, and I didn't finish this, but this information is on that paper, helpful tips, what's happening can include, and then on, let's see here, you would pull in this information from here. What's happening can include what happens, what happened, what will happen, what might happen, and then good starter words that you can come up with your child. Maybe you could pull these starter words, every, many, when, inside, at. Notice that some of these are preposition words. Okay, and then of course, now this is at the bottom, but you would do it at the top. And then of course you would copy down some examples from the Step Up to Writing paper, and then you would come up with 1 or 2 together. All right, if you have watched my summary writing video, you are already very comfortable with the identify verb, finish thought, burrito, fold. And so in this one, now this is not on a little strip of paper, but how easy would it be to create this onto a little strip of paper? You guys have the idea at this point. You can definitely do this, but I just want to show you an idea of pulling this from here right? Recreating, of course, you would do it on a smaller strip of paper, but I just want to read to you what I have here. So this is just a page of notes I did years ago with a child. So action, verb, topic, sentence. This is one of the types. Draw a little burrito fold thing. If you've done summary writing, you and your child know what this means. So it would just jog their memory that that's this type of topic sentence that we're writing. And then you would just write, for this type of sentence, visualize the burrito fold that you use when summarizing, and use the verb reference list, which you have in your notes for the summary paragraph. That will help for the verb, because we want to have awesome verbs. Okay, then here are some examples, and this is probably really tricky to read. Let's see if I can make this a little clearer for you. I don't know, I'll read it to you, but here's some, what, did I pull these examples from here? No, I did not. Okay, so I'll just read these examples to you. Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence and third president of the United States, designed several buildings. So what would this paragraph be about? Would it be about Thomas Jefferson's life? No. Would it be about Thomas Jefferson's presidency? No. Would it be about his childhood? No. It would be about the buildings he designed. Okay, the attack by Japanese warplanes on Pearl Harbor sparked, here's our verb, the United States' involvement in World War II. Is this paragraph going to be about Pearl Harbor and how beautiful it is? Nope. Is it going to be about the country of Japan? Nope. It's going to specifically be about this attack on Pearl Harbor and how that started the involvement in World War II. Our science group identified 2 important changes to the water as it boiled. So what could this paragraph be about? It could be, this could be a topic sentence to the beginning of a paragraph discussing a science experiment that you just did. Okay, now I want to talk to you about the last couple of pages that you have in your packet and your pages that you printed off. So these are going to be from high school. This is like high school level. Okay, these are for older students. So you're going, some of them, you see that you've got a dot next to them. Every one of these that you have a dot next to, you have a breakdown. You have the larger page included in your papers for that, okay? If there is not a dot, I did not include that, and that's fine. That would be something that you would, if you want to use this, you would do this with a middle school or high school child. Totally appropriate for middle school and high school, not so much for the younger kids. Okay, so we've got several that are not, as you can see, so Maureen Aumann came up with a total of 14, and they're all in here. And you've got a good overview for the ones that we haven't covered. I do want to show you, let's see here. However, I want to show you just a couple in case you want to do these with your child. So here is an example of however sentence or however statement or however however sentences for topic sentences, however you want to do it. However sentence is fine. And so this is going to be, so what I would do here is I would do like an example with them. This is all one sentence. And then a box of words that we could use. These are called conjunctive adverbs. So I would identify that, because if we're doing this with a middle school or a high school student, you know, teaching them that this is a conjunctive adverb would be fine. They can learn that, no problem. Okay, and then we have on the inside another example. And the however sentence, notice that it uses, it's a compound sentence, okay? So we've got our class enjoyed everything at the zoo. That's a complete independent clause. Semicolon, special helper word or conjunctive adverb, however, comma, the monkeys were the most entertaining. So we've got complete thought, separated, broken up with a semicolon, a conjunctive adverb, and a comma. All three have to go together. Does it have to be a however word? It's called a however sentence. Nope, could be any of these. These are like really awesome ones that we want to try to get our older students to try to do. Here's another example. So this creates a compound sentence. The first part provides the reason for writing. The second part provides what I will prove or explain. Then you would have them come up with another one. Here's another way to do this that requires you stretching it out because it's quite a bit to write, but this would be like on a wider strip of paper maybe. And maybe on some of these, you just do a wider strip of paper because you just need to stretch things out more. These are longer sentences and there's more to identify. So if you want to just take a look at the difference in here versus here. Okay, and then one last one that I'm going to show you an example for is the to plus a verb. Again, this is for the older child. So this makes a clear and direct topic sentence. And I like to do this one where I put like little triangles around it and fill it in so that it stands out. But we've got this list of to succeed, to accomplish, to finish, to win, to teach, to impress, to prepare, to keep, to help, to benefit, to change, to support, to provide for, to show. So to plus a verb. So we can see we've got the to and the verb. And then here we've got some good examples right in here. And so the to plus a verb is, you know, our special word that we're going to put in yellow. And then we want to always make sure our commas stick out because we have to separate our complete thought with a comma. So to succeed in business, comma, a person must establish clear but realistic goals. To impress your teacher, comma, make eye contact and listen carefully. To save the lives of many young girls, comma, Shahrazad entertains the king with multiple tales. So any of these can easily be turned into a very interesting paragraph. Here's 3 more examples. And I don't know which ones of these came off of the step up examples or which ones of these are ones that I came up with children that were sitting here as students. Okay, so let's see here. So I hope this was helpful for you. And this is, again, this is the second video in a series of 5. So if you would like any more support, please reach out to me. You can email me, you can call me, you can just go to the Family Partnership website and my email and my work phone number are on there and I will absolutely get back to you. I would love to have feedback and hear from you. If you want me to give you some ideas of how to take some of these topic sentences that I did not do examples with in this video, if you want me to create an example for you and send you like a screenshot of it, just reach out to me. I'd be happy to do that. I'm just trying to, I didn't want to go through all of them because I'm just trying to keep these not as long as they could potentially be. All right, thanks everybody. So you'll see me with the next one.